By working with SEG, we were able to sell to a public company, so we got 100% cash on it, and we got more than twice the valuation. My name is Tad Fallows. I was the co-founder and CEO of iLab Solutions. We provide core facility management software for universities and hospitals. And thanks to our project with SEG, we were acquired by Agilent Technologies. Our dynamic is we were working in a relatively small market where, probably a few $100 million of TAM, on a good day. And if you look worldwide, there were probably 1,000 potential customers, maybe half in the US and half in places like Europe and Asia. So it was not a market that Microsoft or, SAP was going to go into, which I think was a challenge, but also something that SEG really, helped us with. Our philosophy all along was we're not building toward an exit. We were building toward a company we wanted to own. So we actually never took any venture capital. I think then there became a point, and this was probably around the time we started engaging with SEG, where it moved from that philosophy of, hey, this is a fun experience, to, no, we really do want a good exit here, when it became, hey, the majority of my net worth is tied up in this one illiquid microcap stock, and I really don't want that to go to zero. We'd gotten a set of unsolicited inbound interest, and we'd also gotten the company to a scale where we said, okay, this is likely to work. It now has significant economic value. Let's not just think about building the business, but put a little bit of our mind share toward, an ultimate exit opportunity here. So I actually had some initial conversations with SEG, and one of the things that ultimately led me to wanting to work with them is I was impressed by their integrity in those conversations. They said, look, we know you have interest today. It is not the right thing for you to sell today. We don't want to take you on as a client today, and honestly, you don't want to sell today. You're not going to get the kind of valuation that you could. But they said in a no contingency, no expectations basis, we would be happy to help coach you over the next couple of years, because if you can get your KPIs from here to this point, then we'd love to have you as a client, and you will get the kind of exit that you want from this. And that was a couple of things. One was just a matter of growth. If there are certain magic numbers, I don't know what it is today, but maybe if you get over 5 million, or if you get over 10 million ARR, certain things where you're just going to get a better valuation because you open yourself up to, financial buyers and not just strategic buyers, et cetera. But then beyond that, there were a couple of pieces of coaching that we got from the team there that were quite helpful. I think one was really just on them having been through the exit process 100 times. They said, okay, we know this is exactly the deck you're going to have to put together. We know these are exactly the questions you're going to get in due diligence. You're going to give your buyer much more confidence, and you'll have a much better lifestyle yourself if you already have this data together. I'd say the other big thing, and again, this was really a matter of pattern recognition on SEG's part, is they said, okay, we know your business, there's going to be a lot of things people like. They're going to like your team, they're going to like, you've got no churn, people like that. They're going to like your growth rate, your margins, but the big concern is going to be your TAM is not that big. And any buyer is going to need to see that they're not buying at, the bad point of the S curve, and they're going to see decelerating growth. And so we went back and forth and saying, okay, and I'd say integrity clearly came across from day one as a key thing to them. So we're not going to mislead anybody about the TAM. But how do we demonstrate that it's not just what you're doing today, but you can credibly say there's a set of expansions beyond that? When we formally engaged SEG, and I would say even though they had coached us along the way, we then, ran a process with the help of our attorneys of saying, hey, let's get introductions to several investment banks, let's interview all of them. And we proactively chose to continue with SEG because, irrespective of our gratitude for their coaching to that point, we felt that they were the best bank to work with at that point. SEG had been through this process so many times. They knew what the deck should look like, they knew what the data room should look like, and then they knew how these conversations should run. So they, we did practice sessions where they said, okay, here's the questions they're going to ask. Let's, figure out the answers that we want to give to those. And so, kind of prepared us one-on-one that way, and just, helped us put together a subset of our deck that we would use to talk through those conversations there. We actually ended up getting twice the number that was our internal cutoff of saying, below this number, we won't do it. And so, I don't know how many of dollars to put onto the TAM portion or how much to put onto having, clean data or reaching out to the right people. But I think that combination of things got us a number that was 2x, what we internally said would be something that satisfied, our objectives. That, I would say, was one of the best decisions that we made, not just in the exit process, but honestly in the entire 10-year process of, building and selling the company. Choosing to work with SEG is a decision that I have zero regrets about.